You wake up. Your eyes are open. You can see your room clearly, the ceiling, the door, the dim shape of the window. But your body will not move. Not an arm, not a finger, not even enough to draw a full breath. And somewhere in the dark corner of the room, you become certain something is there, watching you, and it is not friendly. Most people assume this must be part of a nightmare, something still happening inside sleep. That's not quite right. You are not still dreaming. You are, by every meaningful measure, genuinely awake. Your conscious mind has switched back on. The problem is, your body hasn't gotten the message yet, because it's still taking orders from a part of your brain that thinks you're supposed to be paralyzed. Here's the foundation. During REM sleep, your brain deliberately shuts off movement in most of your major muscles. In the 1960s, French neuroscientist Michel Jouvet discovered why, through experiments on cats. When he damaged a specific region of the brainstem, the cats stopped staying still during REM sleep. They got up and acted out whatever they were dreaming, because the switch that normally paralyzes the body during dreams had been destroyed. That switch exists in you, too. It usually releases the instant you wake up, in perfect sync, so you never notice it happened. Sleep paralysis is what happens when your conscious mind wakes up a few seconds before that switch does. Here's where it gets stranger. In that in-between state, your brain isn't just leaving you paralyzed. Part of it is still generating dream imagery, and it appears to blend that imagery directly onto your real surroundings. That's why the hallucinations feel so convincing. They're layered directly over your actual bedroom, while you're verifiably awake and looking at it. But that's only half the story. In 1982, folklorist David Hufford published The Terror That Comes in the Night, documenting that this exact experience, paralysis, chest pressure, and a sensed evil presence, shows up in cultures with no historical contact with each other, described in eerily similar terms. Newfoundland folklore calls it the Old Hag. Japan calls it kanashibari. Medieval Europe blamed incubi and succubi. Parts of the Middle East and North Africa describe a jinn pressing on the sleeper. Separate civilizations, no contact with one another, all arriving at nearly the same supernatural explanation, because they were describing the same neurological glitch. And here's the part that reframes everything. Research by Balan Jalal has looked into why the hallucinated presence so often feels dangerous rather than neutral. The explanation ties to the amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, highly active during this mixed state. Your paralysis itself is read as a genuine emergency. Your threat system floods with alarm, but there's no real danger to attach it to. So your brain manufactures a source, a shape, a weight on your chest, a presence with intent, because a fear this intense demands a face to go with it. Which raises an uncomfortable question. If separate civilizations, with no way of comparing notes, all independently invented a demon sitting on the sleeper's chest, how much of the supernatural might actually be a small, universal handful of glitches in ordinary brain machinery, each culture dressing up the same malfunction in whatever mythology it had on hand? So here's what's actually happening in that moment you can't move, and something feels like it's watching you. It isn't a nightmare bleeding into reality. It isn't a demon or a soul halfway out of the body. It's two systems in your brain waking up out of sync, one in charge of awareness, one in charge of movement, and in the gap between them, a threat system with no real target manufactures its own monster to explain a fear it's already feeling. The thing in the corner was never really there, but the part of your brain convinced it needed a monster never got the memo that you were already awake.